Well, great, Trevor. Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to have you back. You spent some time with us years ago when we were doing these in person. But tell me, you've been working from home for a year now, just like so many of the rest of us. But unlike the rest of us, we get to see your work every day. You've been sharing it with the world. How does it feel? What have you learned after a year of working from home?
I think I've learned that you can do anything if the need arises. The old adage, necessity is the mother of invention. That's what I've learned during this time is that we can do anything that we need to do as human beings. But I do think I've also learned that there are limits to what we can do within the confines of the way we exist now. I know the first few months of the pandemic, all I was constantly existing in was a space of um, discovery and adventure and excitement and just constantly learning new ways to do what I was doing because we were all locked at home. And then after a certain point, I came to realize we were missing that the human connection, the human moment, as I think social scientists call it, where magic is sparked by individuals being in the same space together. And just a small body movement or an inflection or a tone shift is something that sometimes sparks an amazing idea that can oftentimes change the world. So that's probably what I've learned during this period is we can do many great things, but we can't do them without each other.
When you go back, and we all are hoping that we're getting increasingly close to that day when we sort of go back to something that resembles life as it was before, will there be some things that you'll do differently than you did before because of this?
Well, the rule I've used for my team is that we don't use the phrase going back. We use going forward. And so what we've decided to do is I've said to everybody, I don't want to go back because I'm inclined to design a system that remembers how everything was and doesn't incorporate everything that now is. And so I've gone, when we go forward, what are we going to do? When we go to a studio, what are we going to do? How do we move this show to a studio? Because what I don't want to do is be in a space where you can fall back into the old because systems are so powerful that they can just rope you into the way things were and how things were done, how you ran meetings, why you had meetings. Did you need to do everything the way you did the same way? I think the answer is no. And so for myself and my team, what I've said is let's move forward. Let's take the horrible experience we've had during coronavirus, but extract all of the positive things we've learned from it and apply that to the future going forward. Hopefully, June, July, it'll all depend on what happens in America and in the rest of the world. But yeah, I'm hoping that going forward, we create a completely new experience that ties in the old with this new, very abnormal period we've lived through.
I love that phrase. That's well put. Let's imagine what it will be like to go forward. Trevor, one of the things that I think is so amazing about you is your personal story, and many people know it. You've shared it in your book, you've shared it in different slices. There'll even be a movie about it. But it often brings to me a couple of thoughts. One is what computers have meant for your life. One is what your journey from South Africa to the United States has been like. And one is your philanthropy. I got to be with you. It was 3 years ago this month when you launched the work at the New Nations School in Johannesburg. If you take those different things and you think about going forward, outside of your work as a stand up on the weekend or on the Daily Show each evening, what are
Mm-hmm.
the other things that you want to take going forward, and where do you see some of that perhaps changing because of this time?
That's an interesting question because I think it's going to require a moment of thought. This is something I've shared with my friends and family. As I've said, the one thing I've promised myself is I'm going to create the time to think when the world opens up because I don't want to fall victim to the idea of just having to go. I just want to breathe. I think we take for granted that, when we watch a movie and there's an asteroid headed towards Earth, we take for granted that because we're watching the movie, we sort of plan what's going to happen in our heads. We're calm. When zombies invade the planet in a TV show, we take for granted that we're observers, so we plan accordingly. We think about what we would do. But now we are in that situation. And nobody warned us about the situation. No one told us that this was going to be the movie before we started it. When 2020 began, no one said, oh, what is the synopsis of 2020? No one gave us that warning. And so because of that, we got thrust into something and we've been reacting ever since. So what I want to do is when this ends, I want to think so that I'm not just reacting. I want to go, okay, Trevor, what do you want to do? Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge that the office isn't the only place where work can be created. I also want to acknowledge that the office fulfills more purposes than just being a workspace. It's a social space, it's a human space, it's a connection space, it's a space where people learn and enjoy other people. Um, I also want to take with me the idea that, you know, as human beings, we can connect in different ways. I don't know about you, but I think I've connected with more people than I would have during this time, because I've come to understand that I don't always have to wait for the physical connection to inspire some sort of conversation. And those are things that I want to take with me moving forward. And I think all of that, you know, it's funny that you asked me the question of the computers. That's all of that is wrapped and encapsulated in that world, because without a PC, that wouldn't have been my journey. You know, I genuinely did not think that now in 2021 I would be back on my PC typing again and doing all the things that I didn't think I was like, oh man, I need this even more than ever. I've taken for granted those things, but I've also been appreciative for how much that has been a part of my life. It's been imbued in the culture of how I live my life. And so whether it's making a television show from home or just jotting down your thoughts, creating ideas in a space, I think that's where, you know, that journey for me has been one that I hope to carry on, finding my space, thinking about my piece, and then moving forward and incorporating everything into one giant movement for myself.
No, I think those are words of wisdom. I think we're all going to need to pause a little bit and think. We were talking here this morning about this summer being a time to, I think, in some ways, recharge. I think we're all going to need to recharge a bit. I think reconnect, because as you point out, you know, we've all found with the beauty of technology, we can connect with more people in more ways, but not necessarily with everybody in all the right ways. That interpersonal connection needs to be rekindled. And then ultimately, renew. I think it's going to be a time for us to renew ourselves and renew what we're working on. And I look forward to the chance for us to be together. And we're all going to look forward to seeing how you take things forward, because as you say, we're not going backwards, we're going forward. So thank you for joining
Going
us
forward,
today.
my friend, forward all the way.